Hi, this is Sara Levin, the Artful Inker. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today, I've got a couple of alternatives to share with you for the January 2022 paper pumpkin, Kisses and Hugs. Let's get started. For our alternative card, I'm going to start with a piece of basic white, and I've got my scrap paper here and my embossing buddy. We're just going to wipe all over with that anti-static bag. And then I need my Versamark ink and the arrow, and I'm just going to ink that up and start and do kind of a random pattern on here. Let's see. And maybe one more little arrow point up here at the top. Okay. And then, since I stamped off, the edges, I'm going to trade pieces of scrap paper so that I don't have gold Stampin' Emboss powder stuck to my scrap paper. And let's get the bottom of this arrow. Give that a good flick. Okay. Pop this back in my jar and move it out of the way. And let me grab my heat tool over here. And I'm going to heat that up for just a second. I'm using it on high. The Stampin' Up! Heat tool has 2 settings. And then I'm going to heat from behind, and that will blow less of our embossing powder around than heating from the front. Another way to help you have fewer stray bits of embossing powder on your, let's see, I see a few stray bits here before we right out there at the end. Okay, so there are our arrows. And now I want to grab my Blushing Bride. Sorry, my heat tool is trying to fall off the side of my table here, and that's not okay. And I'm going to bring my scrap paper back in. And then this time I've got those little dots from the Kisses and Hugs. And we're just going to fill in some of our spaces with them. And I think we need a little bit right up here, and maybe same thing over here. Okay, and there's our background. Let's close up this Blushing Bride ink. And then we need to stamp our sentiment. And for that sentiment, I've die cut a piece of basic white using a Stitch So Sweetly die. And let's bring that Blushing Bride ink back in here. Got ahead of myself. And let's ink that up. Just giving that a little rub rather than pouncing. Okay. I think that's well inked. And so I don't stick my hand in the ink, and that looks like the center. Don't mash, just rub. Okay, and now we're ready to put our card together. So in comes the card base, which is Blushing Bride, and a piece of basic white. And for the inside, and you're just going to check your top and two sides, or bottom and two sides, to make sure you're spacing. And then I want dimensionals on the back of this layer that we stamped. Okay, and again, I'm lining up on my grid sheet. You can find grid paper in my Stampin' Up store. And then I've got a piece of one of the hearts that I've cut a strip from. Again, all these measurements will be in my newsletter that's going out this weekend. You can find the link for my newsletter in the description below the video. And we'll add dimensionals to this piece of Blushing Bride that I've cut with the Stitch So Sweetly dies. Oops. Pulled off the backing, but didn't bring the dimensional with me. Okay. Before I press that down, I'm going to move my fingers out of the way and make sure that I'm centered more or less. And then I've got some of the Simply Elegant trim in the gold, and I'm going to just wind that back and forth and make sure that I've got enough to hang out both sides. So I need to be just a bit longer. Okay, and cut this, and then let's grab some mini glue dots here and put on the back of this little figure 8 to hold our pieces. Okay. I need to come to the right just a smidge more. That looks good. We'll just press those down. And then how about some dimensionals for the back of my... Ooh, I keep pulling the backing pieces off and not picking up the dimensionals. Okay. Okay, and there's our alternative card for the Kisses and Hugs Paper Pumpkin Kit from January. Let me clean up and I'll be back with another alternative idea. For our box, I'm going to use the Kisses and Hugs card in Blushing Bride, and we're going to start by taking our paper snips and just cutting right up the score line here, and the same thing on this side. And you'll notice we've got a couple of flat sides here. And so I'm just going to match these up as best I can. And it's okay if the top one is a little bigger, but the bottom one just cannot be. So I'm going to trim off this little side piece and see if I can round that just a smidge there. So yes, one side is going to be a little flatter than the other, but it's okay. And then I've got some Blushing Bride, and we're just going to trace these on there. Let's put this one right up at the edge, and that means less cutting. And then I need to be careful that I'm not putting my head down in the camera. You don't need to see my hair or the back of my head. Okay, there's one. And then we're going to trace the foiled one because it's a slightly larger size. Okay, and then let's put these out of the way. And I'm going to take my snips and just cut these apart and cut them out. And I'll be right back. Now be sure that you're keeping your pieces together. Because it does matter since your tops and bottoms are a little different. And then of course you're going to want to check and see which one is the top side, because side to side you're a little bit different. And then make sure that you've cleaned up around the edges so that your backing piece isn't way larger. Okay. My handy tip there to keep it from being way larger is to cut just inside your traced line. I've just added some multi-purpose glue there, and then we're going to bring this up and make sure that we're all good and lined up here. And then do that on the back of this pretty piece. Love the foiling on the cards this month. Okay, and then again, we're just checking to make sure that we're lined up and we don't have that backing piece hanging out. And we're going to set this one aside for a moment. And then I've got a piece of cardstock here. I'll have measurements in my newsletter. If you're not already signed up for that, you can do that in the description below the video. Okay, and we're just going to burnish those score lines and then come in here and cut. And then angle cut this end as well and pull out all your little pieces. And then we're going to take our bone folder and soften this slightly. Okay. And press all of these in. Make sure that they're going to curve that way when we're ready. And then I've got my silicone craft sheet and my Stampin' Seal Plus. And I'm just going to come across here, make sure I'm getting some on those tabs. I'm not seeing it. A little bit. Okay, let's move this out of the way. Whoops. And bring our bottom heart in. And again, push these up. And we're going to have some overlap down here at the point. Now there's no wiggle room with Stampin' Seal Plus, so make sure that when you press it down, it is where you want it. So we're going to go ahead and kind of curve this piece on around. And let's see, I need to take another little notch here. And the way I know that I need to do that is it's not folding in to the curve that I'd like. Okay, and let's just give that a good press all the way around on this side. And now, same thing around here. We need to form our curve around the edge. I'm not pressing down as I pull my cardstock around. I'm getting it where I think I want it. And then once everything is down and more or less in place, I'll come back and press that down. Okay, now I've got a shorter piece here, and got to think just a second about my score lines and which way I need things to go on this one. Okay, let's move this out of the way and take those little pieces out. And then I need this to curl. So we're going to use our bone folder. So this is nice and soft and still has some body, but soft enough that it's going to do what we need it to do. Okay, so these come in. Make sure of that. And then we're going to do the same thing with our Stampin' Seal Plus here. And okay, so more tape in my dispenser. Let's just move these little pieces that are overhanging the edges back in here. And then I need a little bit along the edge here. And then we'll move this out of the way and bring this back in. Let's bring our pieces down. And we're just matching up our curve here. And the point. Let's adhere these two pieces together. And then we'll work on this other side here. Yep. You know what? I'm going to add a little more adhesive on this side. I've got more overlap. Okay. And again, we don't want it running off the edges here. Okay. So I want this to come down in the middle. Burnish these two together. And then the same thing over on this side. Burnish that. Make sure that this point. Okay, so there's our box bottom. And then for our box top, I've already got my pieces cut. We're just going to go ahead and put our adhesive on them. Okay, and let's roll pieces in here. This is great because the Stampin' Seal Plus has lots of little perforations in the tape, so those areas that I'm over, it splits apart easily, so it's easy to roll it back in on itself. Just like that. Okay. And we're just going to set the piece that's going to hold our lid in place inside here. And that way we know it will fit. And then we're going to put our adhesive along the bottom piece here. And again, you have to make sure that you're not over. You don't want whatever treat or gift is inside sticking to your adhesive. And the Stampin' Seal Plus with those little perforations is ideal because it's not going to, it's easy to roll back on itself. Okay, and again here I'm over, you can see. I like when I don't have to be too extremely neat in my, okay, and we're just going to match that up to the curve of the box here. And then we're going to fold all of our pieces in. And let's take this out of the way. And just want to make sure these are down. And then I'm going to take this and put it over. I need to look through the camera and make sure that I'm lined up. Okay. And let's gently pull that apart. And now we'll just burnish all of these pieces in place. And I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive in behind this. And just give it a hold. So that that's not sticking up there. And then the same thing over here. And give that a hold. Just neatens up this piece of our box here. And then this should fit right back down in. And there we go. Our little XOXO heart. Thanks for stopping by today. This was Sara Levin, the Artful Inker. If you're one of my Paper Pumpkin subscribers, you'll be receiving the Beyond the Box tutorial bundle in the next couple of days with some exclusive tutorials. You can subscribe for Paper Pumpkin using the link in the description below the video. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the bell and you'll be notified the next time I upload a video. And of course, have a great day. Bye.